بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الإمام السيوطي رحمه الله تعالى في كتابه النقايا: منها ما يرجع إلى السند وهو 6: المتواتر والآحاد والشذاذ. الأول ما نقله 7 قيل إلا من كان من قبيل الأداء، والثاني كقراءة 3 والصحابة، والثالث ما لم يجتهد من قراءة التابعين ولا يقرأ بغير الأول ويعمل به إن جرى مجرى التفسير، وإلا فقولان، فإن عارضها خبر مرفوع قدم.
نعم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. He says here, وَمِنْهَا مَا يَرْجِعُ إِلَى السَّنَدِ. We mentioned in the introduction that As-Suyuuti rahimahullah, in this book, he says that there are 55 different types of Quranic sciences, right? In this book in particular. So here he says some of the types have to do with a sanad, or the chain of narration. So this is really good, because now what we are taking in Bayquniya in our other class, right? Obviously in Bayquniya or in Mustalah al-Hadith, what do we study? Chain of narration. Here he's talking about the chain of narration. Does Quran have a chain of narration as well? Yes, it does. Some of the verses of the Quran have come to us through a chain of narration. Okay? So he mentions the different types of Quranic sciences that have to do with as-sanad. Alright? وَهُوَ سِتَّةٌ. And there are 6 types. The first one is al-mutawatir. And the second one is al-ahad. And the third one is al-shudud, or al-shadh, or al-shadad. Many different ways to pronounce it. طيب. Let's talk about the first one, al-mutawatir. Al-mutawatir, what is al-mutawatir? Al-mutawatir is ما رواه جمع يستحيل العادة تواطؤهم على الكذب. That when a number of people narrate something in which it becomes impossible for that something to be a lie. So many people narrate it that it's mutawatir. Okay? That it becomes mutawatir. But As-Suyuuti rahimahullah, that is the definition of mutawatir when it comes to hadith, or when it comes to chains of narration. But here As-Suyuuti rahimahullah, he says that al-mutawatir, in terms of when we look at Quran, it is the 7 recitations, the 7 styles of recitation. Right? Al-Qira'at As-Sab'ah, the 7 styles of recitation. Okay? I'm sure you guys have heard of the 7 styles of recitation. Alright? And the first person to come up with this was Abu Bakr ibn Mujahid, a scholar from the late 3rd century. He's the first one to come up with the 7 styles of recitation. Okay? And Abu Bakr ibn Mujahid, what he did was, he noticed that there were so many different ways to read the Quran, because obviously the Quran came down in many different ways, right? In terms of its style. So what he did was, he chose the top 7 Qurra from different cities in the world. He chose the most famous of them, in terms of their Qira'ah, and the ones that had a lot of students as well, or notable students. Okay? 3 of them were from Kufa, the city of Al-Kufa. Al-Kufa is a city in Iraq, and it was built by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an, after the Muslims conquered Persia. It was built in the year 16 or in the year 17 after the Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ. And he sent Umar ibn al-Khattab, he sent Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an, he sent him over there so that he can teach the people matters pertaining to their religion. So 3 of these, of the 7, were from Kufa. One of them was from Damascus, Dimashq. And another was from Mecca. And another was from Medina. How much do we have? We put all of them together, how much do we have? We got 6. And we have another one from Basra. Basra is where? is in southern Iraq, close to the Arabian Peninsula. Alright, another city that was built by Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Okay, so who are these seven? The first one is Asim al-Kufi. Asim al-Kufi. Asim, obviously, by his laqab, is from Kufa. And he has two main students. He had two main students, Hafs and Shu'bah. And the qira'ah that we hear, the mainstream qira'ah in the whole world that's read, most Muslim parts, is Hafs bin Asim. And inshallah, today when we pray Maghrib, the Imam will be reading, unless he decides to change it up, and read something else. Because mashallah, we got a lot of talented folks out here in Minnesota who know the different styles of recitation. But the asl is that he's going to read Hafs bin Asim. That's the asl. So his teacher was Asim, and he had a student by the name of Hafs and another one by the name of Shu'bah. The second one is Hamza al-Kufi. Hamza al-Zayyat al-Kufi. He's also from Kufa. The third one is Ali ibn Hamza al-Kisai. Al-Kisai was also from Kufa. These three are from Kufa. It shows you that Kufa was a hub of knowledge at the time. Kufa was a hub of knowledge because they didn't just have qurra. They didn't just have scholars, scholars that knew about the Quran. You had scholars that knew about fiqh. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah is from Kufa. Okay, you had muhaddithin over there as well. You had Shu'bah ibn al-Hajjaj and al-A'mash and others from Kufa. Alright? You had fuqaha, Abu Hanifa, like we mentioned, Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman, and the students of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala an. And you had Sufyan al-Thawri. It was a hub of knowledge. People used to go to Kufa to actually seek knowledge. Alright? The fourth one is Abdullah ibn Amir al-Dimashqi. Abdullah ibn Amir al-Dimashqi. And the fifth one is Abu Amr ibn al-Ala al-Basri. Abu Amr ibn al-Ala al-Basri was from Basra. And Abu Amr ibn al-Ala was also a lexicon. And he knew a lot about Arabic grammar and poetry. In fact, some people, they say that half of the poetry that reached us through Arabic poetry, reached us through Abu Amr ibn al-Ala. Abu Amr ibn al-Ala al-Basri. The sixth one is Nafi' al-Madani. Nafi' al-Madani. There are two Nafi's. And a lot of people, they think that he's the same person. There are two Nafi's. There is Nafi' who is the Shaykh of Imam Malik. The Shaykh of Imam Malik. Malik had many teachers, but one of his closest teachers was Nafi'. He was also from Medina. Nafi' al-Madani. But he was a scholar of Hadith. Then you have another Nafi' who's a scholar of Quran. Right? And he was the Imam of Al-Masjid al-Nabawi, the Prophet's Mosque, Prophet's Masjid. Alright, he was also known as Nafi' al-Madani. He's the sixth one. And the seventh one is Abdullah ibn Kathir al-Makki. Abdullah ibn Kathir al-Makki. He's from Mecca. And Ibn Kathir is not the Ibn Kathir who wrote the Tafseer. A lot of people, they mix the two. They think it's the same Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir, there's Ibn Kathir who wrote the famous Tafseer, the famous book Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, the beginning and the end. Ibn Kathir is all the way in the 8th century. Alright? He passed away in the year 774. But Ibn Kathir, the one we're talking about, Ibn Kathir al-Makki, who's from Mecca, is from the 2nd century. Alright? And it is the qira'ah, Ibn Kathir al-Makki is the qira'ah that Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah used to read. Shafi'i rahimahullah used to read the qira'ah of Ibn Kathir. So these seven, As-Suyuuti rahimahullah, he's saying that these seven styles of recitation are known as mutawatir, Okay? And we'll get to it inshallah when we get to the next chapter. Right? In detail. The second one is Al-Ahad. And we know that anything that is not mutawatir is ahad. So if it does not meet the conditions of mutawatir, then it is ahad. From the condition of mutawatir, it has to be what? A lot of people have to narrate it, and it has to get to the point that that it can't be a lie. It's so widespread and so prevalent that it can't be a lie. If it doesn't reach that level, then it is ahad. Very simple, right? Here he says though, al-ahad are the other three styles of recitation. The other what? The other three styles of recitation. We hear 7 styles of recitation sometimes, al-qira'at al-sab'a, and sometimes we hear al-qira'at al-ashr, the 10 styles of recitation. The other three are considered ahad according to Suyuuti here. Alright? Who are the other three? One of them is Abu Ja'far al-Madani. Abu Ja'far al-Madani. And the second one is Ya'qub al-Hadrami. Ya'qub al-Hadrami from Hadramaut, which is in southeast Yemen. From Hadramaut, which is in southeast Yemen. Ya'qub al-Hadrami. And the third one is Khalaf al-Ashir. He is known as Khalaf al-Ashir. And Khalaf, he was one of the students of the seven sheikhs, the 7 that we just mentioned. At the same time, he has his own style of recitation known as Khalaf al-Ashir. طيب, you have these 3. As-Suyuuti rahimahullah considers them ahad. But in reality, all 10 are mutawatir. All 10 are what? Mutawatir. That is a correct opinion. That all 10 are mutawatir. Okay? And he says here, قِيلَ إِلَّا مَا كَانَ مِنْ قَبِيلِ الْأَدَاءِ. قِيلَ, if you look at the last word of the page, قِيلَ إِلَّا مَا كَانَ مِنْ قَبِيلِ الْأَدَاءِ. What he means here, he right now, As-Suyuuti is mentioning an opinion held by Ibn al-Hajib, a scholar by the name of Ibn al-Hajib. Ibn al-Hajib rahimahullah, he says that the way these qurra, right, these qurra, and to be honest, we can't go too deep in qira'at and whatnot, because that requires a whole lecture in itself, or maybe even classes on how qira'at developed and whatnot. But in a nutshell, Ibn al-Hajib, what he's saying is the way these qira'at came about, that is not mutawatir. So for example, the mudud that we hear, the mudud, the med in the Quran, was-sama', right? For example, the tarqiq and the tafkhim of the ra', right? وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْغَفُورُ. The tafkhim and the tarqiq, alright, the way these words sound and the way it's pronounced. Ibn al-Hajim here is saying that it's not mutawatir. It is not mutawatir. We know what mutawatir means. Mutawatir means you have to believe in it certainly. That's what it means. You have to believe in it certainly. Allah say, there can't be no doubts, right? If you were told right now, they say, if you were told right now to swear by Allah that this is the speech of Allah, then you have to swear, and you have to swear, right? That's what mutawatir means. We believe in certainly, 100%. Okay. So Ibn al-Hajib rahimahullah, he's saying the way these qira'at came about is not mutawatir, which is obviously incorrect, and many scholars have rebuked this matter, because if these if the mudud and the tarqiq and the tafkhim and all of the ahkam of the tajweed, if they are not mutawatir, then how should they be pronounced? If they're not mutawatir, how should they be pronounced? Because in salah we can only read what? We can only read mutawatir ayat or mutawatir Quran. We cannot read ayat or Quran that is ahad or shudud or has shudud in it. And inshallah we'll get to it. He says here, وَالثالث مَا لَمْ يَشْتَهِرْ مِنْ قِرَاءَةِ التَّابِعِينَ وَلَا يَقْرَأُ بِغَيْرِ الْأَوَّلِ. وَالثالث مَا لَمْ يَشْتَهِرْ مِنْ قِرَاءَةِ التَّابِعِينَ وَلَا يَقْرَأُ بِغَيْرِ الْأَوَّلِ. The third type is known as الشَّذَاذ or الشُّذُوذ. الشُّذُوذ is something that is a qira'ah, is a style of recitation that did not become famous amongst the tabi'een. That did not become famous amongst the tabi'een. Alright? This is known as ash-shudud. So to give you guys an example, وَاللَّيْلِ. Surah Al-Layl. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala an, and this is authentic in terms of its chain. He says, وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنْثَى. There is no وَمَا خَلَقْ. There is no وَمَا خَلَقْ. The ulama, they said though, this ayah is shadh. This ayah is what? Is shadh. Alright? How is this chain of narration to Ibn Mas'ud correct, but it's considered shadh? How is this? It's going to come inshallah in the next chapter, the conditions for a mutawatir, for the ayat or the verses of the Quran to be mutawatir. What are its conditions? There are 3 conditions, and inshallah it's going to come. So I see a lot of confused faces. You guys are going to understand it inshallah when it comes in the next chapter. The problem is there is taqdeem and then there's ta'khir. Some of the kalam, some of the speech that As-Suyuuti rahimahullah mentions, he expects you to know it already. He expects you to know it and understand. Alright? So we have, just understand for now, that there are 3 types. There are ayat and verses that are mutawatir. There are some that are ahad and some that are shadh. Some that are what? Some that are shadh. The mutawatir, you can read, and you can read these ayat in the salah. The ahad and the shadad or the shudud ones or the shadh ones, you cannot. Okay? وَلَا يَقْرَأُ بِغَيْرِ الْأَوَّلِ. The mutawatir, they're the only ones that you can read. You see the mushaf that we have today? That's the only thing that you can read in the salah. Okay? And the 10 styles of recitation. Any other style of recitation, you're not allowed to read in the Quran. You're not allowed to what? You're not allowed to read it in the salah. Okay. The second one though, and the third one, and this is where it gets interesting. The ahad ayat and the shudud ayat, you're allowed to use it for tafseer, in terms of interpreting some of the meanings of the Quran. You're allowed to use it for tafseer. And you're also allowed to use it for ahkam, for fiqh, for rules and regulations regarding fiqh. But you're not allowed to read it during salah. How does this make sense? Does this make any sense? You're not allowed to read it during salah, but at the same time, you're allowed to use it for tafsir and fiqh. Does it make sense? Well, what happened was Uthman radiallahu ta'ala when he was compiling the Quran, and he seen the different styles of recitation, the different ways to read the Quran was becoming a problem between the masses, he decided to what? To unite all of the Muslims under one style, or one harf, if you want to call it, or under the dialect of the Quraysh. And that's what he did. And he made 4 copies of that mushaf, okay, and he sent it throughout the Muslim lands. Alright? And the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they agreed to all of this. It was a consensus. It was a consensus between the scholars to do this. Alright? So what happened was a lot of styles got caught, for example, the qira'ah of Ibn Mas'ud, for example. That's not according to the style of recitation of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, or his rasam. So وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنْثَى, for example, in Surah Al-Layl, وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنْثَى does not fit in the mushaf that we have today. Alright? We have وَمَا خَلَقْ. It does not fit. He just says وَالذَّكَرِ وَالْأُنْثَى, and that's just one ayah. Another ayah, for example, ثَلَاثَةَ أَيَّامٍ مُتَتَابِعَاتٍ. That's another ayah. Mutatabi'at is not in the Quran. Alright? But there is a qira'ah that is shadh that has mutatabi'at. Alright? So, because the Sahaba, they have a consensus that now this is the Quran, this is the only style of recitation that we can read upon, okay? Because they agreed to this and they have a consensus, a unanimous consent on this matter, you cannot read anything other than that in Salah. You can only read that. Okay? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, عَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين. And this hadith is collected by Abu Dawood and At-Tirmidhi and Nasa'i and others, and Imam Ahmad. Hadith of Al-Irbad ibn Sariyah. Prophet ﷺ, he said, hold on to my sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided khalifas or caliphs after me. And we know that the rightly guided khalifas or caliphs after the Prophet ﷺ are four: Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali. Okay, on top of that, the fact that the rest of the Sahaba, they agreed to this. So it's ijma'. First of all, it's sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, hold on to the sunnah of the rightly guided khalifas. Second, it's ijma'. It's a consensus. And whenever scholars agree upon one thing or one matter, then this is considered an evidence. Alright? So we cannot read whatever Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an put together in that mushaf, we cannot read anything outside of it in salah. Okay? But we can use it for tafseer because it is still Quran. It is still what? Quran, as long as this chain is authentic. Alright? And we can also use it in fiqh. But what happens sometimes, or what could happen is that you have a qira'ah. You have a qira'ah that is shad, that we cannot read in salah. It is shad. And a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Now these two, which ones are stronger? We know that the Quran is more authentic than the Sunnah, right? It's stronger than the Sunnah, la shak. Even if the hadith is mutawatir, still the Quran is still what? Right? Quran is still more authentic and more stronger. But what happens when you have a qira'ah, a style of recitation that is shad, and a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that is authentic? Which one is stronger? As-Suyuuti rahimahullah, here he's saying that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is stronger. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is stronger. طيب. The conditions of the Quran. Now he mentions the three conditions of the mutawatir. The mushaf that we have today, he mentions three conditions. Okay? All three conditions. The first one is sihhatu sanad. That the chain of it has to be authentic. The chain of it has to be authentic. And that's pretty clear. I mean, that makes complete sense. The second one is وَمُوَافَقَةُ الْعَرَبِيَّةِ. It has to be in accordance to the Arabic language. It has to be in accordance to the Arabic language. And the third one is al-khat. And what is meant by al-khat is that it has to be included in the mushaf that we see today. It has to be included in the mushaf that we see today. Alright, according to the what is known as Rasm al-Uthmani. Ibn al-Jazira rahimahullah, he says وَكُلُّ مَا وَافَقَ وَجْهَ نَحْوِي وَكَانَ لِلرَّسْمِ احْتِمَالًا يَحْوِي وَصَحَّ إِسْنَادًا هُوَ الْقُرْآنُ فَهَذِهِ الثَّلَاثَةُ الْأَرْكَانُ. Alright, these are the three conditions. Ibn al-Jazira rahimahullah, he mentions this in his al-Muqaddimah. Okay, and the ilm of qira'at, the science of qira'at, right? Requires much study. How it developed, how it came about, and everything. How the Quran was compiled. That's a whole ma'arik. That's a whole class that must be taken. Yani. Same thing goes for the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. How hadith was compiled. That's a whole class that must be taken as well. النوع الرابع. He mentions the fourth type. قراءة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The qira'ah of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وعقد لها الحاكم في المستدرك بابا أخرج فيه من طرق. Okay. Now he's going to give us a few examples. A few examples from the Quran of the different styles of recitation. The first one is Maliki Yawmiddin. We already showed that on the board. There's Maliki Yawmiddin and there's Maliki Yawmiddin. Alright? He says, La tajzi nafsun, or La yajzi nafsun. Okay, there's two ways to say it as well. Nunshizuha and nunshiruha. There's two different styles of recitation, two ways to say it. Alright? فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضَةٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah is talking about Ar-Rahan. And Ar-Rahan is a transaction, is a type of transaction that happens after a loan. Okay? In another qira'ah, faruhunun. In another qira'ah, faruhunun. Alright? An yaghul and an yughal. Two ways to say it. An yaghul and an yughal. Notice how these different ways to say it, they fit the what? They fit the way Uthman radiallahu ta'ala and put it. So farihanun and faruhunun. Alright? You see how farihanun has an alif? Farihanun has an alif after the ha. But the ha, he doesn't write the alif. He puts the little alif. So that it fits the other qira'ah. Faruhunun. Okay? An yaghul and an yughal. Same thing. Anna nafsa or inna nafsa or anna nafsa bin nafsi wal ayna bil ayni. هل يستطيع ربك or هل تستطيع ربك. Two ways to say it. درست and درست. Multiple ways to say it. This verse there's multiple qira'ahs. من أنفسكم من أنفسكم. Okay? وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة صالحة. Y'all are sleeping. You guys are straight sleeping. Y'all just heard what I just said? وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة صالحة. Is that what it says? What does it say? غصبا. Okay. Correct it and put صالحة. And put صالحة. Wait, how many of you guys memorized the Quran? I'm pretty sure there are a few huffaz in here. Does it say in the Quran صالحة? Or does it say in the Quran غصبا? This is the story of what? The story of Musa alayhi salam and Al-Khidr. Right? In Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf, there are 4 stories in Surah Al-Kahf. This is the last, or second to last one. Alright? وَكَانَ وَرَاءَهُمْ مَلِكٌ يَأْخُذُ كُلَّ سَفِينَةٍ. غصبا is in the Quran. But in another qira'ah, it says صالحة. كُلَّ سَفِينَةٍ صالحة. According to what we just established right now. This verse, صالحة, is it mutawatir or is it not mutawatir? It's not mutawatir because it doesn't fit in the what? In the rasam. It does not fit in the rasam of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Okay? So, we cannot read during Maghrib, you cannot come and read Safinatin Salihah. You can't read it. Okay? Another verse is Sakra wa ma hum bisakra. Sakra wa ma hum bisakra. Surah Al-Hajj. What is the qira'ah that we know? Hafs ibn Asim. What is it? Sukara wa ma antum bisukara. Yani sukara means somebody who's intoxicated. Min qurrati a'yun. Min qurrati a'yun. Change the fatha to a dhamma. Min qurrati a'yun. Or min qurrati a'yun. 2 different ways to say it. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَأَتْبَعْنَاهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَتْبَعْنَاهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ. نعم. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَأَتْبَعْنَاهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ من سورة الطور. رفارف وعباقري or وعباقري. This is Surah Al-Rahman. What is the as? رفرف وعبقري حسان. But there's an extra alif. But the alif, we can add it in the rasam by what? By putting the little alif. Alright? Okay. Everybody understand this? So the 3 conditions of mutawatir is what? The first one is that the chain has to be correct, the way it got to us, the way it got to us today. The second one, it has to it has to fit the rasam of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an. And the third one, it has to be in accordance with the Arabic language. Okay? In this little paragraph, he mentions the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the Tabi'een that were famous for their Quranic recitations. Okay? Alright? So he starts off with the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. The first one is obviously who? Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an. And Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, may Allah be pleased with him, he was a scholar of the Quran, and he memorized the Quran during the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. And he used to read the Quran constantly. In fact, they say one of the reasons why Allah blessed his life, alright, one of the reasons why he blessed his life is because he was connected to the Quran. Okay, out of the four Khalifas, he ruled the longest. Even though at the end of his caliphate there was a bit, in the last a few years of his caliphate there was a bit trouble, but he ruled for 12 years, more than any other Khalifa. The closest was Umar, and he ruled for 10 years and 6 months, but he ruled for 12 years. Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, they say that one time he prayed and he read the whole Quran in one rak'ah. SubhanAllah. And us in one rak'ah, imagine the entire Quran. You start and you're like, you know what, today I'm going to read the entire Quran. Does that even come up to us? Imagine doing that in Salah in one rak'ah, 604 pages. SubhanAllah. Do we even have the himmah for this? Do we have the inspiration to do this? But Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he did this entire rak'ah. Obviously something that's been hard to do, but look at how they were connected to the Quran. Okay? Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the way he passed away, he was reading Quran when the rebels attacked him in Medina and they laid siege on the city, right? He was reading Quran. They entered his house after they commanded him to not leave his house for days and even denied him water and basic food. What he did was he just started reading Quran, and then one day they decided to just finish him off and kill him. So there was a fight that occurred. Some people defended him, and while they were fighting and he knew they were coming for him, he still decided to read Quran. Us, we try to find an avenue to get out, try to hide, try to run away. He just sat and just started reading Quran. Alright? And man who killed him, he killed him while he was reading the ayah in the Quran, فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. That Allah is sufficient for you. Allah will take care of them for you. And SubhanAllah. And his blood dripped on those and on that page, on that same page, right? And he passed away. He lived and died by the Quran. Radiyallahu ta'ala an. Uthman ibn Affan, one of the 10 promised Jannah, the third greatest companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa Ali ibn Abi Talib, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the son-in-law of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the fourth Khalifa, who was one of the most knowledgeable of the companions in general, in ilm in general. Okay, in general, he's one of the most knowledgeable of the companions. Okay, and Quran as well. And Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala an, as Masruq said, he said, "Shamamtu ashab Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam." Right? I, conversed and dealt and lived with the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَوَجَدْتُ أَعْلَمُهُمْ سِتَّةً, and I found that the most knowledgeable amongst them are 6. ثُمَّ شَامَمْتُ هَؤُلَاءِ السِّتَّةِ, then I decided, I looked at all 6 of these companions, and I found the most knowledgeable of them to be Ali wa Abdullah, Ali ibn Abi Talib and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. This is what Masruq rahimahullah from the Tabi'een, this is what he's saying. Ali ibn Abi Talib was a scholar of the religion, and he's also a scholar of the Quran, and he also memorized the Quran before the Prophet passed away. Okay, Zayd or Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay ibn Ka'b was from the Ansar. When Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he decided to bring the Muslims together and pray Taraweeh, he chose two men to take this honor of leading Taraweeh. The first was Ubay ibn Ka'b, and the second was Tamim ad-Dari. And Tamim ad-Dari is an interesting note. Tamim ad-Dari is the only companion in which the Prophet ﷺ directly narrates from him. You guys with me? The asl is that the companions, they narrate from the Prophet ﷺ. Abu Hurairah says, Qala Rasulullah. He says, the Prophet ﷺ said. Ibn Umar says, Qala Rasulullah. The Prophet ﷺ said, or the Prophet ﷺ did. The Prophet ﷺ approved of, or this is the way the Prophet ﷺ looked. Except for Tamim ad-Dari in one hadith. Tamim ad-Dari, he narrates a hadith to the Prophet ﷺ, and it's collected by Imam Muslim in his As-Sahih. It's a long story regarding the Dajjal, in which Tamim ad-Dari, who was a Christian, before he became Muslim, he was a Christian, he actually met the Dajjal. Alright, it's a long story, maybe you guys can go back to it and read it. Tamim ad-Dari and Ubay ibn Ka'b, they were the two that were given the honor to lead in Taraweeh. Right, Umar al-Khattab gave him this honor. And also was Zayd ibn Thabit. Zayd ibn Thabit was from the Ansar as well, from the scholars of Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said about him that he is the most knowledgeable of the companions when it comes to al-fara'id, or inheritance. Laws of inheritance, he's the most knowledgeable. وَأَفْرَضُكُمْ Zayd. Hadith is collected by Abu Dawood. Prophet ﷺ, he said that the most knowledgeable of the companions in fara'id is Zayd ibn Thabit, and he's the one who compiled the Quran during Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an's reign. Abdullah, which Abdullah is this? There are tens of Abadila, there are tens of the companions of Prophet ﷺ that have the name Abdullah. From them was Abu Bakr. From them was who? Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr's name, that's not his name, that's his kunya. What's Abu Bakr's name? Abdullah. And what's his father's name? No, Qahafa, that's not his father's name. His father's name is Uthman. So Abu Bakr's name is Abdullah ibn Uthman. His father's name is Uthman, but his kunya is Abu Quhafa. Obviously, his kunya is more popular than his actual name. So Abdullah, there are tens of the companions of Sallallahu with the name Abdullah. Okay, but four of them are famous. Four of them are famous, and they are known as Al-Abadila. They are known as Al-Abadila, or the Abdullahs. Okay, and these four Abdullahs, they were companions, and their fathers were companions, and they lived for a long time, and they were all about the same age. And the Prophet ﷺ passed away when they were young. They are Abdullah ibn Abbas, and Abdullah ibn Umar, and Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. These are the four that are known as the Abadila. Ibn Mas'ud does not come into it because, first of all, he passed away early. He passed away in the year 32. These guys, they all passed away in the 60s and in the 70s. All right, 30 years after him. Except the Hanafis. The Hanafis, they consider him part of the Abadila. The Hanafis, they consider him part of the Abadila. Anyways, the Abdullah that is mentioned here is Ibn Mas'ud. How do we know? Because Ibn Mas'ud, the Prophet ﷺ praised him for his knowledge of the Quran. He says, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, Man arada, whoever wants to read the Quran kama anzal, as it was revealed, فَلْيَقْرَأْ عَلَى Ibn Abd. Then let him read it on Ibn Abd. And who is Ibn Abd? It is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So, and this is the importance of knowing personalities and names. When you read a book, a lot of times they won't mention who they're referring to. Names and terms. So Abdullah, in books of hadith especially, a lot of times they won't say which Abdullah it is. you have to know about the Abadila, about the different Abdullah. So for example, if the narrator is from Kufa, in hadith books, if the narrator is from Kufa, then most likely it is Ibn Mas'ud. If the narrator is from Medina, then most likely it's Ibn Umar. If the narrator is from Mecca, then it's most likely Ibn Abbas. If the narrator is from Egypt, it's most likely Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. But they won't mention that, they just put Abdullah. Okay? Same thing when it comes to terms. Wa Abu Darda. Abu Darda. He was also another scholar of the Quran. Wa Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala an. Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala an. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, أعلم الناس بالحلال والحرام. That he is the most knowledgeable of the companions when it comes to fiqh, when it comes to matters of halal and haram. What is halal, what is haram? He was the most knowledgeable. But he was also a scholar of the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ, he sent him to Yemen 3 months before his death to go give da'wah to the Jews and Christians in Yemen. Okay? وأبو زيد الأنصاري. Abu Zayd al-Ansari is from the Ansar, from Medina. ثم Abu Hurairah. That's like the first level. Alright? Those are like the top tier, first class. Then you have the second classes of the companions of Rasulullah. They're not as knowledgeable as these guys, but they're pretty knowledgeable as well. Abu Hurairah, although he's known for his Quran, for his hadith narrations, but he was also a scholar of the Quran. Abdullah ibn Abbas. Okay, in fact, Abdullah ibn Abbas should be considered from the top tier, because the Prophet ﷺ, he made a dua for him. He said, Allahumma faqihhu fi ad-din wa 'allimhu at-ta'wil. Oh Allah, give him understanding of the religion and give him knowledge of At-Tafseer. Wa Abdullah ibn Sa'ib, another companion of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, wa min at-tabi'in, and from the tabi'in, Yazid ibn al-Qa'qa'. Okay, wa Abdul Rahman al-A'raj, Abdul Rahman ibn Hurmuz al-A'raj. Wa Mujahid ibn Jabr al-Makki, the student of Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. And Sa'id, it's another one of those names. You know, if the name is like a rare name, that's not a problem. But Sa'id is a common name. Which Sa'id are they talking about? Even from the tabi'een, is it Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, or is it Sa'id ibn Jubayr? We say it's Sa'id ibn Jubayr. One, mostly because he was a student of Ibn Abbas. Two, because he was a scholar of tafsir in his own right, Sa'id ibn Jubayr radiyallahu ta'ala an. Whereas Sa'id ibn Musayyib was known for fiqh and hadith. Wa Ikrimah, and Ikrimah, he's also from the students of Ibn Abbas. Wa Ata ibn Abi Rabah, who's nicknamed Shaykh al-Manasik. Alright, Ata ibn Abi Rabah. Ata is from the students of Ibn Abbas as well. Wal Hasan. Who's the Hasan that we're talking about here? Hasan, the grandson of the Prophet ﷺ? No, this is Al-Hasan al-Basri. Remember, we're talking about the tabi'een. Al-Hasan al-Basri, who's from the city of Basra. Wa Alqamah is from the students of Ibn Mas'ud. Now he's going to talk about the students of Ibn Mas'ud. He mentioned the students of Ibn Abbas. Now he's mentioning the students of Ibn Mas'ud. Wal Aswad ibn Yazid. والأسود ibn Yazid النخعي وزر ibn Hubaysh, they're all from Iraq. وعبيدة ومسروق, عبيدة السليماني, and Masruq that we mentioned earlier. وإليهم ترجع السبعة. The 7 styles of recitation go back to all of these scholars. Somehow, some way you're going to find these tabi'een in the chain, and you're also going to find these Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so these are the names that we must know in Usool At-Tafseer and in Ulum Al-Quran. Alright, especially when you start taking classes in Tafseer or start reading about Tafseer, you're going to hear these names a lot, because they all have opinions in Tafseer. Okay, because they gave an inayah, they gave their time to the Quran, and they specialized in the Quran and in Tafseer and so on and so forth. Alright, inshallah we'll stop there. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.